Welcome back, and this is a new series covering Krita and how to use it as a painting graphics program. Hello and welcome back, and today I'm going to do an introduction to Krita. So today I'm just going to focus on the very basics of Krita and how to use it, and this will be over a series of videos. This is the first part, so part 1, and I'm just going to show you how to use Krita in terms of formatting your layout, your brushes, and going over some of the very basics in regards to getting started and starting to paint with this program. So when you start, you have something like this. When you've downloaded Krita, normally you would have brushes under Dockers uploaded and nothing else. So what you will need to do in order to use this program proficiently is that you will need to get your layout sorted, and in order to do that, in order to get the relevant Dockers, go under Sending, go under Settings, go to Dockers, and start picking the relevant components for your layout. So there's a brush preset history, there's a layers docker, there's a brush preset docker, as I've mentioned. There's a toolbox which you can place either on the side or like so on the center here. You can adjust the width of the size of the presets. You might not want them there, you can place them underneath, increase that. You might want to put your brushes on the side, so you can drag and drop your boxes like so, depending on what kind of layout that you want. There's a tools options docker, which is handy for various tools when you come to using, for example, your vector graphic components when you're manipulating certain vector graphics, or if you're using, for example, the symmetry tool and you want to manipulate the way that works as well. And there are many different options that appear in this box which are very useful when creating bespoke characteristics of an image or a certain layout. So we'll look into that a bit later. Also in Dockers you have something associated with Krita's animation. So for example, you have the animation docker that deals with the individual keyframes for your animation. So you've got your end and start and end frames from 0 to 100. You can also change the ratio, the speed in which this is playing, and I'll go into that in a minute. So at the moment frame rate is 1. You can increase it accordingly. I've got nothing to show at the moment, but that's a feature of Krita that I've covered in previous tutorials, so please look at my playlists for that. You have the advanced color selector, and that enables you to select various colors that you need or may need for your illustration, and I'll cover that in a minute. There's also a reference images docker, which enables you to view various references. For example, if you want to work on a different image, and I'm just going to go into that in a minute as well, so I'll show you how these two dockers work. And you also have your onion skins. When you're doing step-by-step, frame-by-frame animations, you may want to look at other frames that you've done previous to the current frame that you're working on. So that is also covered in another tutorial in my playlists, and I will be going through some of that in the introduction to Krita. But this gives you an overview of the different kind of dockers you might be working with, the kind of material that you might be using in order to generate an animation or a bespoke illustration for a piece of commission work. So this is usually the dockers that I would use. There are other dockers that I haven't really used in Krita that I might investigate and use at a later date, but in the main these are the most powerful dockers in the program that you will use on a regular basis to generate all kinds of interesting and bespoke imagery and visual content. So let's go straight into actually applying a document in Krita. So what you would do is you'll press new, so Control N, and you would put in the parameters of the content of the docker. So you might want 2 layers, you might want 3 layers to begin with. You can select your background color if you wish. It doesn't necessarily have to be a color, so you can choose the background color that you want. You may not want a background color, in which case you can put the image background opacity to 0, so this controls the opacity options. So that's the content. In dimensions, you can name the actual document itself. You can choose a predefined dimension, for example an A4, an A3 sheet of paper, or an A5, an A6 piece of paper, US letter, so forth. So you can choose which one you want, and these are texture sizes for making all kinds of patterns. And here are the different modes that you can choose. So you can go for a CMYK if you're doing anything in print, grayscale. If you're doing anything like height maps for a 3D image, this can be very useful. Normally I'll go for RGB for any colour work that I'm doing for internet or online content. So I'm just going to go for RGB. You can change the depth, so you can go for a 16-bit integer channel, a 32-bit or an 8-bit, and I'm just going for an 8-bit for the time being. And this is a colour space profile, which enables you to choose the kind of RGB that you want. So there might be a particular true RGB preference that you may want to use for your colour work, but I'm just choosing the standard, and this also enables you to change the kind of RGB that you want to use as well under profile, and you might want to save a colour profile. I really haven't set up anything colour wise for Krita, because I usually use this as third-party software, and I import the images into my paid document where I would play around with the colours and play around with the image further in Photoshop. But you have these options in the colour section in Krita before you even open or create a new document. So let's start creating a new document. So let's choose the one that we want, and we're going to go to create, and now we have our custom document. Notice that we have two layers, both transparent and both at opacity of 100. In your brush dockers section you have these presets. Now some of these presets will have predefined tips, such as this brush here known as pastel texture large, and if you go into the brush engine option you notice that you have these different brush configurations, and the one we've chosen is pixel, but you also have predefined brushes, so you can change the way that looks in the predefined brush section. Also notice that you can attenuate a pattern with your brush presets, and you can change the texturing mode, so I can change it to multiply, get this kind of texture, or I can invert the pattern and get this kind of texture. I can also change the size of the brush, the ratio, the spacing, the rotation and the scatter, and I'll go through those options again at some point. And I also can change the flow and the opacity of the brush, so if I want to increase opacity I can do so by changing the attributes of the pressure on the opacity, and as you can tell it's much harder. And I can also change the flow, also changes how the brush works. So that does it for this first part of the tutorial. In the second part I'll be going into how to use Krita for painting, and in concurrent videos I'll be showing you how to manipulate photographic images and how to use the animation tools in this program. So I hope you found this informative. This is a repeat to what I designed, a video that I designed almost 3 years ago, and a lot has changed with Krita. There's a lot more options available on this program, and some very interesting new tools that you can utilize to make unique images that you can show off to your friends and associates and implement in graphics work that you're developing in Photoshop or other programs that are similar to Adobe's image making programs. So thank you very much for watching. More content coming soon.